Hello everyone. Welcome back to Chaotic Doom's channel and the analysis of Paragon. In this video, I'm going to be analyzing, or at least sharing my analysis of the Affinities that came out with Paragon V42. This really stemmed from my deck creation video, where I spent way too long explaining the Affinities, so I'm making a separate video for it. So they are kind of in conjunction, but you can still appreciate each one individually. Anyways, starting off with growth, because I'm going to be going left to right here. Growth is really good late game, right? This really comes from its cards building up power, not giving you lots of power immediately, such as Growth Totem, gives you nothing immediately, but building up lots of power as you continue to play. Alright, this makes it really strong late game where you become super beastly, you can equip some really good ability cards later on, and you maintain the power that you earned earlier. Right? The attributes that really come with with growth, spoilers, are vitality. Next up, agility is kind of a secondary stat. It's pretty common, and intellect is the least common in growth. As well, growth is heavy with gold purchases. And the real reason for this is the trait card for growth, the type of card that is only available in growth, is called Cultivate. What this does is every attribute point you've purchased reduces the cost of the card with Cultivate by 500 gold. Cultivate cards only use gold, which is coincidentally not a coincidence. Right? It's not going to be an attribute and requires less gold. That doesn't make sense. So if we look here at the Flame of Zucchini, as me and my friends have dubbed it, it has Cultivate and it costs 2,000 gold initially. So if you have purchased 2 attribute points, right? You have 2 points in Vitality, or 1 in Vitality and 1 in Agility. This card now only costs you 1,000 gold. If you have 4 attribute points purchased, this card is actually completely free for you. Okay, Cultivate's pretty cool. It's pretty nice for something like Growth Totem, which you want to get really early, right? It means maybe you purchase 3 attribute points, it drops the cost by 1,500, now it only costs 2,000, you save up that 2,000, you can get Growth Totem fairly early on. That's pretty nice. You want Growth Totem early in order to build up for that late game, which growth really specializes in. Alright, so growth is really good for junglers because of all these cards that are fantastic against minions, like the Zook, and Tyrant is ridiculously good for junglers. You gain so much power and health. This is every 50 jungle minion kills, you're gaining 200 max health. This is beastly for people like Rampage and Sevrog who are looking to be tanky as well. Jungle power, never bad. Every kill, so much power, right? Think about it. You get 50 jungle minion kills, you get 25 power and 200 max health. These are permanent. You unequip Tyrant, those still stick with you. That is amazing. Alright, so where was I going with that? Alright, my bad. Growth, in terms of damage type, really specializes in basic attacks. There are some ability attacks, or like ability buffs and so on, but it has a real emphasis on basics, such as Trapper, where basic attacks debuff opponents. Thunder Cleaver, this only really affects your basic. So a lot of melee heroes are really good with growth. Amazing for junglers. I imagine every jungler would want to use it. Off lanes also really benefit from growth because off lanes generally are deprived of resources as an enemy carry and support kind of just push down their throat. So having these extra cards to boost you up even when you're not fully in the battle is very nice, right? Something like Growth Totem will keep you powering up even though you're not getting a whole lot of final blows. Alright, moving on to Knowledge. Knowledge is really good in the mid to late game. Alright, it also has tons of ability damage. This is amazing for casters. So even like Countess, who really focuses on ability damage, Gideon, Gadget, amazing knowledge users. Speaking of which, tons of intellect gives you tons of mana regen, and then agility and vitality come pretty evenly as a secondary stat to intellect from here. Kind of makes sense. Knowledge, blue, intellect, they go pretty hand in hand. Gold is also pretty heavy because of the trait type. Consumables. As it sounds, you purchase the card, you use it, it's unequipped. You can purchase them as many times as you want, but you don't get the cost back. So you use that card and it's gone. However, this is really good for some things, because for something like Power Tap, you permanently increase your power every time you use it. That's gone, you have 15 power, and you re-put in a new card, or a old card, or whatever you want, and you get the bonus from that card, plus the maintained 15 power from Power Tap. So that's really good. There aren't a whole lot of awesome consumables. Yeah, there's some that could be good for niche situations, but Power Tap is amazing. I highly recommend Power Tap. Furthermore, Font of Experience is amazing for like off lanes, jungles, everyone. It's a fantastic starting card. It gets you like a level ahead like 2-3 minutes in. It's beautiful. I definitely recommend this for off lanes or junglers. However, overall, the Knowledge Kit, Affinity, is really good for mid lanes who are often casters, and is awesome for carries because it keeps them really powerful. Power Tap is really good late game, really awesome for, you know, carries once again, but it's also got really good basic boosters like Ice Burst and OPD Militia, which gives you lots of power and utility on your basics, which is exactly what carries do anyways. Alright, so Order, moving on. Order is good in the mid game. It has a pretty even split between agility and vitality, as seen by these two most expensive cards in it, and intellect is kind of following up behind. Its special trait card is Elevate. There's actually not a ton of them. I'm not a huge fan of them, but there are definitely reasons to have them. It goes really well with Knowledge because Elevate gives a massive bonus to the card if it is the only card equipped. So for example, Godmother Vigilant, increase max health by 1% per attribute point purchased. Say you only have 13 vitality, you purchase this is your only card. Now instead of 15% max health, you have 28% max health. As soon as you equip another card though, it goes down to 15%. Right? So this is really good with something like Knowledge, where you can use consumables, use the card, get rid of it, and still get the benefit from Elevate. Not a huge fan of it, just because I really like the abilities that come with other cards, so I like that variability. However, I can't really draw away from it. Order is still a fantastic affinity, especially due to this combo right here, Malunk's Tribute and Sacred Alchemy. Amazing on junglers, especially Chimera. This is ridiculous on Chimera. So, Shielding Strikes, it gives you 20% shield, or converts basic damage to 20% and gives you shield for it. It only lasts like 1 to 2 seconds. It's not great, but it does build up really fast. It's awesome if you can unleash with Chimera, or you have someone with high agility, gets lots of hits in, you get lots of shield building up. It's really good for sustaining mid-fight. However, Malunk's Tribute is ridiculous, right? Because Chimera, or any real sustaining character with high healing, any healing above max converts into shield. So you can enter a fight with essentially 20% shield with minimal effort. You go into the jungle, you attack a camp late to game, and you enter into the battle with 20% shield. It's ridiculous. And then you start attacking with Sacred Alchemy, you keep that shield going, you maybe grab green buff on the way. Man, you have like 150% health via shields. It's awesome. Order is really good defensively. It's awesome for supports because it keeps themselves safe as well as allies. Tons of shields, tons of auras, stasis, purifies, lots of cool stuff. So like I said, fantastic for supports, highly recommend for supports. Junglers can definitely get benefit out of it too, especially niche junglers like Rampage or Chimera. And otherwise, it's kind of basic attack focused, just like Sacred Alchemy, bonus, basic damage, basic damage. Yeah, a lot of focus on basic, not so much abilities. That's okay. Moving right on to Death. Good early to mid game, and has huge focus on intellect, like massive. And then Vitality kind of seconds it up, and there's actually not a lot of agility. Alright. So, its trait card is called Cursed. You notice there's not a lot of Cursed cards down here. That's because they're really good for early game. This is why it really pulls down to early to mid. Otherwise, I would say mid to late by some of the cards later on. But the Cursed cards, not great. I don't like them much. There could be some awesome ones that come out in the future, but the real thing about them is once you equip them... Oh, no. I can go back. Once you equip them, you cannot unequip them, ever, for the rest of that match. So that's super frustrating, right? These help you early game. They're quite powerful. For example, Lord Volstock, tons of experience. You will power up super fast. But by the time you are late game and you're powered up, you cannot get rid of this card. You're down a card slot. You will feel much less powerful than your opponents. Right? Good early game, bad late game. Don't highly recommend Cursed cards if you're playing the late game. If you really want to go for that fast sub 15-minute win, then sure, Cursed cards may be the way to go. Overall, Death is fantastic for assassins. It's got lots of sweet kit changing cards like Shadow Dancer, giving invisibility to anybody, and movement speed. That is pretty nice, right? Think of this on Countess, who doesn't normally go invisible. You can have sick ganks with tons of burst potential on somebody who's pushed up in their lane, not even knowing you're there. Visibility is at an all-time low in this new V42 patch. Order is the only affinity with wards, and even then, they're not usually worth it. So, highly recommend stuff like Shadow Dancer, and Awakening the Emmerich. You have some awesome tower ganks where you can go up to an enemy minion horde as they just pass a tower, and you turn it around and you run straight into the tower again with no one else nearby. It's amazing. It pretty much guarantees the tower. All sorts of really good assassin-y stuff. This is also very good for carries, right? You get lots of good damage cards like Nameless Curse, or Shadow Dancer is always nice for running away. It's good damage. Guard Piercer, Invader Mage, those are important ones. And Call the Weak is a fantastic starter early game card. Alright, moving on to Chaos. Oh yeah, Death is kind of equally split between basic and ability damage, as you can see from the Invader Mage and Guard Piercer. They're pretty equal in a sense. Chaos, huge focus on basic damage, massive amounts of agility, a bit of vitality, and even less intellect. It does exist, of course. All the attributes do exist in every affinity, but it's kind of what the focus is on, right? Kind of a trend. Speaking of trends, the trait card is called Combustible. It is a super powerful card that is automatically unequipped as soon as you die. So this is really good early game because you can get that power, you can push that advantage, you can get kills, and really try to not die. Late game though, everyone's kind of developed enough to kill each other. They are nice, but dying gives you a pretty hefty cost of 7,000 gold every time kind of thing. It really gets tedious late game. There are some good cards like Deathcrawler and Shatter Golem, but it is kind of focused on the early game overpowering your opponent kind of potential. Alright, so this is really good for carries. Alright, you get that power. Stuff like the combustibles gives you a good early game advantage, as well as carries naturally have a late game advantage, so it really keeps them strong throughout the entire match. And assassins can really benefit from the burst from things like Deathcrawler, right? You get that invisibility from Clary, you're in the Rift Walker, you're in the Shadow Plane. you get this bonus damage, like 339.4 bonus damage. Yeah, it is level 6, but still massive amounts of bonus damage. Sure, your attack speed's lowered, but you come out of that rift, you do bonus, already crit bonus, you get this extra crit bonus, you're already looking at like one-shots on carries or squishies. It's awesome for assassins. Okay, so to really quickly summarize all of them in a quick little motto, always awesome alliteration slogan that I've come up with, I'm going to say that growth is solo survivability. Really good for offlane and jungle. You're by yourself a lot and you stay alive, and it's really good for keeping alive. Knowledge is amping abilities, right? This is for increasing your power, for abilities, getting good mana, getting good value. It's really not about the basic, it's amplifying your abilities. Order is defensive domination. You shut down opponents, you keep yourself alive, you keep your allies alive. This is really good survivability anywhere. This is massive defense. It doesn't build much later, but it keeps you alive. This is the shield in front of everything else. Death is ethereal espionage. You get lots of sneaky stuff, lots of assassin-y type stuff. You can go invisible, you can get tower ganks, regular ganks, curses, and lifesteal. This is really good for the kind of sneaky outplaying your opponent before they even know they're going to be outplayed playstyle. And finally, chaos with the punishing power, where you just have so much power, you just shove it down your opponent's throat. They don't know how to deal with it because you just do more damage. You know when they're coming from true sight. You get more armor, you move faster. This is lots of power. Alright, that just about covers all the affinities. In fact, it actually does cover all the infinities. I hope you appreciate my analysis of it all. I spent a lot of time looking into it and really reading all the cards. I can always put more input on or explain more if anybody has any questions, but for now, I hope you enjoyed the video, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your day, and I'll catch you in the next one. Tschüss!